From not being able to run for a bus to running all day. That idea of covering 100 miles on foot or even just going a little bit further than a marathon itself. The love of a sport, which unless you know, you just wouldn't realise the worldwide interest in this sport. That idea where you put your body through physical and mental torture over a relatively short period of time of a day or two. Hello and welcome to the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy. So firstly, I'd like to welcome you to the show, the new show, the Ultra Running Podcast. So who am I? Well, I'm Neil Marsh, Coach Marshy. And firstly, I want to point out I'm a massive fan of running, but more importantly, a massive fan of ultra running. So I am an ultra runner myself, but I'm a massive fan of this amazing sport. And before we talk about anything else, let's explain that little intro. So, for me, there was a time when I genuinely couldn't run for a bus. And I've now gone through the experience of running most of a given day. I was a kind of fat guy. I was well overweight. And then I trained myself up to do an Ironman. So I was kind of a fat man to Ironman kind of success story. We've seen many of those in the press over the years. And I was one of those guys, who couldn't even run for a bus and then ended up doing an Ironman. And that idea of sort of running 100 miles in 24 hours, it's just what an exciting thing. Now, it's a kind of if you know, you know, right? But if you don't, let me tell you, it excites me beyond belief, that idea of putting your body through that amount of stress and challenging you. Success and growth is always through challenge for me. And that's something that I've done on my journey all the way through. So that idea of watching others and getting excited by this sport is something that I really enjoy and really like to buy into. And I like to hear a lot from other people that do it as well. The idea of going through every sort of emotion that you can over a 24-hour period, elation and then hitting lows of lows. And it's just something that really excites me as a sport. So who am I? Well, like I said, I'm Coach Marshy, Neil Marsh. I have a sport and exercise science degree, and I am a fully qualified personal trainer and level 3 GP Referral Exercise Specialist as well. I'm also a run leader and have lots of experience with working on strength and conditioning with runners, especially around ultra running. So what have I done? Well, if you care, I'm a 10-time marathon runner. I'm also a fat man to complete an Ironman. That was back in 2015. And I've also started my journey within the ultra world. So on recording this episode, I very much just started my journey within the ultra world over recent years. And I started off with actually a 50 miler. So I kind of dabbled. It was before I did Ironman in 2015, but I did my first ultra back in 2014. And that was the Lady Bower Ultra, which was a really good, friendly ultra to attend as a first timer. It was a small 5-mile lap, followed by 3 15-mile loops around the Lady Bower Reservoir in the Peak District. So that was really good for me. And that was kind of a sighter into the world. And upon reflection, there were some easier ultras that I could have gone for in order to introduce myself to the world. But I didn't, and that's where I ended up, and that was 2014. So here we are years later now, and I've been stuck recently, but I've had a bit more experience. So I've managed to go 70-mile ultra. Admittedly, that was laps of 10 miles. So that again was, although there was a little bit of elevation on each lap, it gave me the real opportunity to kind of refuel, change. You didn't have to carry too much with you. So some would describe it as a baby ultra at the Grim Reaper. So it was the Grimthorpe Ultra Marathon. And that was a really good experience because I went to do the 70 miler in 2016 and did not finish. So a DNF. So then went back a year later and learned from all those mistakes and then proceeded on and completed a 70 miler. So I was really happy with that. And then the idea was to then step up and go the next level to 100. But let me tell you, and there'll be many people listening that have done 100 milers, the step up to 100 miles is huge, to the point where I, despite all my knowledge, my degree, my interest in the sport, reading lots of books, looking through things, articles, strength and conditioning, I got it wrong. And I ended up with an overuse injury and ended up with plantar fasciitis. And it was a real pain. And I've got to be honest, I'm still on that journey. So if you listen to the podcast and you choose to listen to this regularly over the coming weeks and months and years, hopefully you will see that journey develop and you can really enjoy it as well with me. So recently I've done a 35 miler just to get back in. It was really good. It was great fun. I was definitely out of condition, but that experience really told and really shone through. And I went back to Lady Bower all those years later and managed to give it another go, but just at the 35 miler. So that's kind of who I am. And let me be clear, I'm a fan. I'm a massive fan of this sport. I follow this sport, UTMB, Western States, you name it, all the local races to me here in England as well, follow all of it, Spine Race, the Centurion running events, all of these things, I follow them. And I'm a passionate fan and I love to follow and I love to absorb the information from others. So the way I always tell my clients when I'm working with them is, yes, I can be your coach and I'll be your mentor, but let's get all the information we can, all the stories we can learn, all the science that we know, and let's put it together and absorb those stories in. And hopefully on this podcast, you will see that, where we get to talk to lots of different guests about their experiences, what they've achieved, what they intend to achieve, and how they do it. And let's absorb that information. And yes, it's not going to work for everyone and not one size fits all. That's one thing that is massive in ultra running. Not one size is going to fit everyone. And I want to kind of create this momentum of understanding that we can gather information, absorb like a sponge, and then we can go and test out what it is that we've learned and that people have paid forward to us, and we can then pay it forward to others and help them in this world. So, I'd like to welcome you all to the show, firstly, the Ultra Running Podcast. And what we're going to do is, over the coming weeks, months, and years, is talk to experts, give you strength and conditioning advice. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to make you 3 promises. You're going to hear from those experts, all types of runners, all types of abilities in and around ultra running, different types of ultra running as well as different kind of levels in terms of elite, non-elite, beginners. You're going to hear from those experts. They're all experts. They've all got a story to tell, and we're going to help tell it. I will also give you an actionable tip from every episode, whether that's a solo episode with me or guest episodes with others, which you can go away and you can try and test on yourself within your own training and see if you can actually use that going forward to make a difference to your training. One thing that I learned in the journey of my kind of discovery through challenge and my bettering myself through challenge was that kind of paying it forward process that we all can do. We can be in this kind world if we want to. We can choose that. And there's been some great people that I've learned from, my mentors, my training buddies, my training coaches, that I've learned things from that I want to pay forward. And then those experiences within those races, like that DNF in 2016, falling to the side of the racetrack, the race of the path as I was on at that point, falling to the side and sitting there and eventually getting picked up by the medical van, and, all of those experiences and how you felt, the nutrition, what you didn't do, what you could have done, what you could have done better, all of those things, they really add up, and paying that forward to others is really important. So that one actionable tip. And then to give you a show that can be entertaining each week around the ultra running world. Now, what a community this is. the best thing about the ultra running world that I like is, and I speak to many of my clients, I've got a couple of clients that I'm working with in the current process of moving up to bigger races. And what we love about the ultra running world is there doesn't seem to be a whole world of ego. Now, there's always going to be your exceptions where there's a lot of ego and people have too much, they're too good for people. We get that. But there's not this ego in the ultra running world. And I really feel passionate about it. And I really like it because I like the family, the community of the ultra running world, whether it be social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook groups that you're in, whatever it is that really bring together this community. And there's no egos. So we want to bring that entertainment to you every episode if we can. So those sort of free promises to you are, we're going to hear from the experts. We're going to give you actionable tips that you can use and give you an entertaining podcast around the ultra running world. So I've got a few stories. I'm relatively new to the ultra running kind of scene. In terms of what I think about people that take part in ultra marathons, I think they're all absolute heroes. They are, there must be something in our minds that make us want to go to that level and that extreme of pushing our body through what we do to get to the end. And I want to make sure that I'm part of that because that's really cool. And these people inspire me every day. And we're not just talking about the elites here, guys. We're talking about anyone. I've got stories of people from these ultras that I've been involved in that got involved. And when I started seeing them and got to know them, they would be at our running club sessions and they couldn't run around the local recreation ground of about 1,000 meters. They couldn't run 250 meters, 400 meters without stopping. These people are now completing solo 40-mile races. This, for me, is inspirational. These people are real life people, mums, dads, grandmothers, grandfathers. These people are doing things that they never thought they could do. And that's what's exciting about the ultra running world for me. My sort of favorite story so far, 2014 was my first ultra. It was at Lady Bower Reservoir, 50-miler laps. You really wouldn't expect there to be many people around. Funny thing is the 2 times I did, the place was packed. One being 2014 was the anniversary of the bouncing bomb, where they tested those bouncing bombs in the RAF at Lady Bower, the Dam Busters. And both my granddads were sort of affiliated to the RAF. They had that kind of, stories about the RAF and the war. And I'd lost those guys in recent years at the time, and they were a big part of my world. And it was just amazing to see all these enthusiasts sort of lining the banks of this reservoir, probably in a place where otherwise you wouldn't have seen many people. There would have been no reason for them to particularly have been there that day. But it was just an amazing thing because while they were waiting for the flyover of the celebration of the anniversary, they were there cheering us on. And actually, they weren't even into running. They could see there was a race. They saw the race numbers and they were really supportive. And that is what running and the running community is all about in my eyes. So I loved it. That was a great experience and it made me push through and it made me get to the end of my first ultra. So there was that. The funny thing is when I next went back to that race, it was right in the height of the pandemic in September 2020. And there was lots of rumors about going back into lockdown. So the place was packed. And there we were at Lady Bower again, all those years later, a place where, all right, it's a popular location when the sun's out, lots of walkers. I'm sure there's lots going on there. And it is set up for that. But it was even busier that day. It was a great day of weather. And because of perhaps the rumors that were going around at the time regarding the pandemic, it was one of those where the place was packed So it was great. And that sense of community came back. And these were just people, again, that weren't really into running. So there are many stories that you're going to get, and they might be as simple as the ones I've just told. They might be even bigger than that. And I can't wait to share those stories with you, not only for my own journey, but from other people's journeys, and give you those actionable tips that we can get from that. I'm so excited for it. So excited. So for me, what is today's tip? Well, simple. And this comes from a place where I was really sitting there myself. But you don't know what you can actually achieve unless you give it a go. And unless you give it a fair go. You really don't know. You know, like I said, I've got those clients that can't even run around a football pitch. And they've gone on to run those ultra marathons. So you need to believe in yourself. You need to give it a go. You might just find that you surprise yourself. I've totally surprised myself over the years. To be honest, I think I've surprised my family quite a lot as well. Marathons, you know, even those guys starting out doing the 5K runs, you know, park runs, whatever it is they're taking part in, even those, you know, that's a massive achievement if it's not something you've done. But unless you give it a go, you're not really going to know what it is you can achieve until you do it. And like I said, I've met some inspiring people over the years, and I hope I get to meet many more. And I hope I get to go over to the States and do various races. I hope that I get to go over to France and do various races. I really hope I do. I guess I'm in an age category right now where I would still be classed in terms of recreational ultra running as a young ultra runner. So that's great. So maybe I've got a bit of time. We never really know how much time we've got, injuries, health, things like that. But actually, hopefully I have, and I touch wood, and I hope that I've got that time, and I hope that I can give it a go, and I'm going to give it a go. And I'm going to believe in you as the listener, whether you listen to this podcast in years to come or whether you listen to it from day one. I'm going to believe in you that you can do what it is that you want to achieve within your running goals. And I'm going to make a promise, and I want you to believe in me, that I'm going to do everything I can to really enjoy this industry and really make something out of it. And it's not about being the biggest Instagram followed person in the world. It's not about money. It's not about success of winning trophies. It's not about that. But what it is about, it's about a journey. It's about me. It's about me going on a journey for me. And within that ultra running industry, it's going to be about the journey. And it's the things that you're going to see that otherwise you perhaps wouldn't have seen. I'm not from a family of walkers. I'm not from a family of hikers. We live in Cambridgeshire most of my life. It's the flattest place in the world. And the truth is, would I have gone to Lady Bower? Probably not. But I've been there twice so far. And I guarantee I'll go back again, because the guys that do that run are a great bunch. The organisers are superb. And we'll go back. We'll go back with clients. We'll introduce them to ultra running. They'll perhaps go and give that a go. And I've been to somewhere that, unless I was into running and unless I was into ultra running, I'd have never otherwise gone there. So for me, it's exciting. This journey is exciting, but this is a journey that I'm on with you, and I'm going to come on it with you. And you could be starting out. You could be a marathoner right now. You could be a half marathoner, 10K. You could be new to running, and you could be listening to this. And you too can go out there and do whatever it is you want to achieve. You just got to give it a go. Like I said, that is today's tip. Just go and give it a go, because you never know what you're going to be able to achieve. And with that in mind, I'm going to make that promise to you. As I said earlier, we're going to talk to the experts. We're going to learn a lot of stories about the industry. We're going to make it entertaining for you. And we're going to give you those actionable tips around strength and conditioning, around kind of time on feet, types of training methods, things that people have done that are going to make a difference to you, that you can go out there and make a real difference to you and your running. And yes, this is the Ultra Running Podcast. However, you can probably apply this to all running. and it's going to help you, hopefully. And that's what we want to achieve. We want to come on a journey, go on a big journey together, get involved with people that are already in this world, other podcasters in this world, other experts. We're going to talk to them. We're going to make a real kind of big group of people that we can talk to and say that we've spoke to them and this is what they think. And hopefully they'll get something out of coming on our show as well. We've got a load of guests already recorded, ready to go, and a few more lined up already waiting to come on the show. So I really hope you can enjoy this. I hope you've enjoyed the introduction show. I'm sure we'll learn many more things about me personally along the way, but this show isn't about me, Neil Marsh. This is about getting that information and getting it out there, paying it forward, what I know, what others know. But hopefully you've enjoyed the intro show, and hopefully we can meet here again, ready to discuss more on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.